Ray, are you gonna be the kicker offer today? The off
I'll be the kicker honor.
Kicker honor.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Let's start the podcast. Episode FFF374XY. No, it's no X's. It's a FF, whatever it is.
There are no Y's in hexadecimal.
No,
Right.
always starts with an F off. That's for sure. We're looking for that one. Yeah. So you see from the name that we've got Chris McCormick, the wonder of the master of Node.js and all things that Josh detests. So we're going to be set up. We're going to be set up for an incredible bout today, everybody. In the red corner, we've got Josh from Sweden. Hello, Josh.
Howdy. Yeah, I'm sharpening my babashka right now, ready to excoriate, as we've said.
Which sport are we doing here?
I don't know. Just pick one.
It sounded like
Got
we were in a ring.
bat.
Yes, we've got a cricket bat. We've got a babashka. I'll sharpen my Node.js. I don't know.
Yeah. Sharpen away.
Yeah, and then we'll do a few callbacks later. Padum!
Wait, I don't have my finger on the.
Was that a joke?
Yeah, you get it. Callbacks. Yeah, okay, doesn't matter.
Oh, right.
All right. Yeah. This is not good. This is like
restart.
Node.js jokes from the very beginning, and they're not landing. This is fucking weird. But okay.
Okay, I get the joke now.
Oh my god!
Because we were talking about Node.js and the callbacks, and it's
yeah. Okay, we have to explain it. Fuck. Okay.
It is. Okay. It is probably
most people you don't have to explain it to, but in my case, I'm sorry.
Well, it's like
Node.js
1 a.m. 1 a.m. in Australia or something. So we'll let you off the hook.
Yeah. So the other person apart from me on the podcast is Chris McCormick. Yeah. Hello. Welcome, Chris.
Hello.
Pleasure to be here. Good to see you both again.
Yeah, likewise.
Well, the last time was at Heart of Closure, and that was an absolute blast.
But what a great conference.
Yeah,
Indeed.
yeah. Well, we can recap on that in a minute, but before we get there, you were living in London at the time, and you were traveling to Belgium for the conference, but you've since Brexited. So tell us all about that. Was it a close vote, or have you signed any trade deals with far-flung islands, or
I mean,
has Donald Trump been around to talk to you about how he can do a trade deal with you? Have you got any tariffs? What's going on?
God.
No, look, I mean, I love the UK, but I also love sunshine and
sick burn.
No, the UK is great.
Last time we talked, you actually had some things to say about Australia that we had to get Welder to cut out of the episode.
I just installed whichever country I'm not in. They're too far away to harm me now, so I can say what I want. I've been saving it up the whole time I was there, and now it all comes out.
Right.
No. I mean, we always intended to do a year in the UK, and that we've done that, and we're back now, and it's exciting to be home. It was exciting to travel, and
Was it like a trip out for a year, then you're back to base, or did you move somewhere else from where you left?
Yeah, no, we came back to base, so we moved back to our same place where we've been living for the last few years. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you? Not precisely. I'm not trying to dox you.
Right.
For the British terrorists are going to come and get you.
We're at 32.67,
Yeah, there we go.
We're in Western Australia, so we're in a city called Perth in Western Australia. It's about 2 to 3 million people. And very far away from everything. Sun is always shining here, and it's sandy. So if you think of it as like it's a big beach, we basically live in a big beach.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah. So you're on the coast then? You're actually. Do you have to walk to the beach or?
No. It's like a 20-minute drive.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. I do quite often go down to the sea, like when I'm doing my closure hammock time. Go down to the beach, lie in the water for a bit. Actually, recently at our favorite beach, there was a there's a shark net around it, which is the only beach I'll swim around in.
I was about to make a joke about that, and then I was like, no, better not. But,
Yeah, well, so this shark somehow got in the net. And so this beach, which the whole point of it is there's no sharks there, had a shark swimming around inside the net. And there was this like 90-year-old guy swimming there as well. And he said they couldn't get him out. He was like, well, if I've got to go, this is a good way to go.
Make the papers anyway.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I probably would have hopped out pretty quick.
Yeah. You've got some Node.js left to write in your life.
That's it. That's it. I don't know if the world needs what I have to write, but I'm going to write it anyway.
I love that attitude. I share that approach. In fact, I'm sure the world does not want what I have to write, but you shove it out there anyway,
We're kindred spirits, Josh. You're talking my language.
Kindred spirits divided by a common runtime. Yeah.
That's it.
Right. Okay. So yeah, you're in Darwin. It's all nice. I think Western Australia is kind of like, isn't it?
It's Perth.
Did I say Darwin?
The city.
Yeah. Sorry. Perth.
I thought you were
north, isn't it?
Yeah. I thought you saying that as a joke on purpose. No. It's called Perth.
I thought you were referring to. Oh, you're on Linux, so you're not even on Darwin in any way, shape, or form, right?
No, I'm far away from Darwin. I'm thousands of kilometers from Darwin, and also from the operating system.
Yeah.
Okay. So my geography is obviously bad, or everything is bad. But if I remember rightly, Western Australia is like, or it was 10 years ago at least. Looking for immigrants to come to mine coal and to build kind of like infrastructure for fossil fuel.
Great. Just what the world needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
So what's going on over there now? I mean, is that because I think that on the one hand, Australia was at that point, at least, maybe it's 10, 15 years ago, like screaming for immigrants to come and build out Western Australian coal mines and stuff. And I'm guessing, based upon the sort of like the noises I hear from afar, that the Australians aren't so super excited about immigrants anymore.
Look, I mean, I don't track politics that much.
Okay.
I guess.
God damn it.
Yeah.
This is a politics show now,
It is.
No, but you're right. Digging stuff out of the ground is the main thing that happens in Western Australia. I think it's something like 6 to 9% of GDP. It's like a fairly significant chunk of what's going on here, and it's like certainly money coming in to WA comes from digging things out of the ground and sending them overseas. But it's since I was a kid, it's grown in size quite a bit. So like, there's a lot more happening now. Like there's closure programmers. The other two closure programmers, and
I was going to say plural. How many is plural?
Closure
it used to just be me, but no, actually, a friend of mine from here put me onto closure. He was into it before me, but it's a bit happening now. Cool. You get meetups. Yeah, before it was cool, certainly. Mining is big here. I think some oil happens offshore. They have like offshore oil rigs. I think my cousin works on one of those sometimes. He's an electrician.
So coal mining is good for closure. Is that the message that we're putting out now? Is that the fundamental message?
You know what? I'm not sure if
fossil fuel exploitation is great for closure.
I'm just gonna fact check this for a second here. Mining in Western Australia. Let's see. What are they digging? Oh yeah, there was coal mining. Mineral and
I don't like fact checking is not on brand for a Deafened podcast. Like we just say shit.
Definitely not.
Wait a second. I've got some statistics here. So together,
shit.
So mining
don't read
in
the
West
internet
Australia,
on the podcast, mate. Come on.
People love it. People accounted for 94% of the states and 46% of Australia's income. So basically, West Australia is bringing all the money into Australia, and all the other states, they're just like, parasites. I don't know what they're doing, but
chilling
not
out.
Closure, that's for sure.
But we're doing all the work. We're exporting.
Right, okay.
We're bringing all the money in. Oh, wait a second. I said I don't want to talk about politics, but yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
I guess
no,
this
fine.
is where
nothing.
we've ended up.
No.
And yeah, the immigration.
We've done
I think,
it now. Yeah.
I don't know. Certainly, immigration is still very high. I think.
Right.
If you look at it in context to other countries and other times in history, I think Australia has a exceptionally high immigration rate.
Okay.
And I'm not going to make a comment on that, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes people like it. Sometimes people don't like it. I don't know what's going on. I don't really listen to other people, so.
wise policy.
Are we able to edit that part out?
Yeah, like all of it.
The bit about you not listening to other people, you mean? Or,
no, that has to stay in. Like the thing before that, we can.
Anything that paints me in a bad light, I'm sure you can just like.
Let's just stop now.
Yeah, we'll just end the podcast.
That's for the director's cut. We'll just pull out all of the embarrassing things.
Well, basically, if I open my mouth, it's all over.
Read some more from the internet, please.
Yeah.
High quality content. Yeah.
But speaking of embarrassing yourself, so you tell us about the code that you write. How did you?
Fair call.
Yeah. How'd you get
before we go there?
let's.
Okay. Oh yeah, go on now. We'll do the how'd you get into closure. Go on, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to go back to the heart of closure, but
Oh yeah. But we can.
Yeah, okay. I mean, very briefly, the way I got into closure was during a game jam. My friend Crispin, we were building a game together. We were, about to build a game together. I think it was about 2016. And he said, "Look, I want to use this new language." And I was like, "What is this?" And had a look at it and felt very confused. And then I was like, "All right, this looks pretty cool. I'll learn it." So I started learning it, and I was asking Crispin lots of questions, which, by the way, is a great way to learn a language, having someone there who you can just bounce stuff off. And then I dreamed in parentheses for about 2 weeks. Like, literally, I was having dreams where there was parentheses. And then my brain was rewired, and I can't program anything else anymore. So it's really a disaster for me in terms of employment, and I can't go back.
It is a problem. I have a friend like that who curses my name because I introduced him to closure, and now he's like, I'm virtually unemployable. So I'm just wandering around begging for closure jobs wherever they're doing it. So yeah. Is that like Crispin Wellington?
Yeah, Crispin Wellington. So he's done Spire.
Yeah.
And a few other very interesting things.
Yeah, we've seen him around the Closureverse, I believe. So you wanted to talk about Heart of Closure, Ray.
Oh, I was just going to say, so we obviously that's what I mentioned at the beginning. That's where we met each other in person the last time, and obviously we had the 100th episode where you were a guest. But yeah, let's just reminisce a little bit, do a bit of nostalgia for last year's Heart of Closure, because I thought it was a pretty epic conference. Josh did.
Yeah.
So are you going to let us down, Chris, by saying no, it was shit? Or, now that you've left Europe, you can say anything you want.
No, don't worry. It was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think Arna listens to this podcast unless he's on it. So, and even then he's only half listening. So you can say what you want.
Fair enough. Yeah. No. I mean, it was a great conference, and I can understand it seemed like a lot of work, but for the people putting it on. So I can understand why Arne doesn't want to do it every year, but I'll definitely be at the next one. Wow. Many people said the best conference they've ever been to, and I don't think anyone was exaggerating when they said that. It was just just a great conference.
You would even fly. I mean, literally fly around the world for it. I mean, that would be quite an effort. Wow.
Yeah,
that's an endorsement. Yeah,
that's a hell of an endorsement. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. But it was really good. I mean, I think when we had a kind of like a panel discussion on the conference, and it was our first ever live audience based episode, so that was quite fun. And we had a great time with you, Chris. And it was a very convivial, very funny kind of show. which was a relief because I didn't know how it was going to go.
Just awkward silence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we did say we'd sort of have a longer conversation with you because obviously it was a fairly short episode, and also we had another guest on as well. So we didn't get to fully explore all the things that we wanted to with you. But yeah, and so. Just in terms of your background, you're doing a game thing there, you're learning Clojure, but I think that you're kind of like the thing that you're most passionate about, let's say, or the most interested in is the JavaScript ecosystem universe. So maybe just tell us a little bit about what kind of brings you there. Why are you so invested in that ecosystem?
I assume it's a deep sense of self-loathing, but I'll let you answer.
Prefigurative comments there.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just I guess it's just the typical thing of like I was already invested in the ecosystem and I understood it pretty well, and package JSON versus whatever they do in Java, whatever nonsense they're doing over there. And so
Pom.xml, yeah.
Pom.xml, yeah.
As everyone knows. Or what's the Gradle thing? I don't know. Gradle.sh or something.
M2, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I have Java on my system. Like Shadow CLJS can't run without Java.
Right.
But and no, I mean, Java's an amazing, it is what it is. It's an amazing piece of technology. I just happen to know the Node ecosystem better. And I founded the VM, so a bit of a silly reason, but when I was deploying, so I have this server, right, where I like to build a lot of experiments. What is it that Lou said? It was normalize
Scrappy
fiddles. Yeah.
So Scrappy fiddles, yeah.
My version of that is kind of like just deploy whatever crap comes out of my head onto the internet as soon as possible. Yes. And so I have a server where I push up.
Welcome to the show.
I don't know what you call them, like code turds or something like that. But
wow, okay.
So
please, this is a family program.
Maybe
code stools, please.
Yeah, exactly. You can bleep that bit. So no, I had this server where I was deploying them, and I noticed when I did at one point, because Crispin actually convinced me, like, come on, dude, you got to do the real thing. You got to get the JVM on there. You got to be deploying these Java-based code turds, not JavaScript-based code turds. So I was like, okay, I'll try that, and I tried this, but basically I found that there was overhead. But like, whereas Node.js, if there's nothing actually, so. Most of my sites have 0 users, right? Like the vast majority of everything I do has 0 users. And for a very good
reason. Not
even
yourself.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, why would I use such an awful piece of software? But anyway, so I have these bits of code, these code turds on a server, a lot of them. So it's kind of like...
Have you got codeturds.com, Chris?
Watch your step.
Have you ever been to Wales? And to like a sheep, have you been to like into the wilds of Wales? Like my wife and I went on a trip in Wales, and you're out in Wales and you're walking in a field, there's a castle, and there's always like a bunch of sheep, and then the entire thing is just covered in these like little pellets. So maybe that's a nicer word. I'm shipping code pellets. So if you can imagine all of these code pellets on this server. And what I found with Node.js is because it doesn't consume any resources when it's idle, basically, I can just have like I have a box with like literally 40 apps deployed on it. Whereas when I was trying to do it with the JVM, it was like still consuming resources. So there was that. And then, I'm just more used to the JavaScript way of doing things. I also found quite often when I was looking for libraries, I'd like look for Java libraries tend to be, how do I put this? Like there's a lot more enterprisey stuff, but also they don't just do insane things. Like people writing Java don't just like build insane modules that do something weird. But most of the things I'm building are an insane thing that does something weird. So I quite often need something from NPM where JavaScript programmers are just like puking out code all the time, like does all kinds of insane things. So
it's a pellet fest.
I need to yeah, it's a pellet fest. NPM, they should rename NPM. Pellet Fest.
They do. It's like Node Pellet module.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say the P
Node
probably
Pellet
stands
Manager.
for. Yeah, exactly.
The Node Pellet Manager. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I was just more accustomed to Node Pellet Manager than your Gradle or M2 or what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. Maven. Yeah. I think Java programmers are required to wear like ties and stuff, right? And spectacles and all of that. Yeah.
I basically imagine
in the top
that
pocket.
they all look like characters from Dilbert, like when I picture Java programmers.
Yeah.
That's what's in my head. Whereas JavaScript programmers, well, I can't even say what they're from. Can't say that on air. Some kind of weird manga.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Big spiky
well, the funny
hair.
thing is, if you, I mean, I've been to Java conferences and I've been to JavaScript conferences, and definitely the JavaScript conferences tend towards more kind of, let's say, more tattoos, more piercings, more kind of like more young, more youthful. That's for sure. And the Java programmers tend towards a bit more shirts and sort of more business casual, normcore kind of environment. Yeah.
So JavaScript programmers don't wear shirts. Is that what you're saying? That's the difference.
They wear T-shirts or ripped jeans and T-shirts.
Ripped jeans,
kind of it's much more. It's much more kind of I don't think hippie is the right word, but more.
I think you
characterful.
mean
I would say
extra. So Java programmers.
I don't mean
basic.
extra. Is that extra?
JavaScript
basic and
extra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've never actually worn a shirt to a JavaScript conference. So.
You're straying though. You just show up in your board shorts and
that's it. A singlet.
Yeah.
Say good day.
Oh Lord, where were we though? Like
I've talked at JavaScript conferences, by the way, and this is something we should do in the future. Actually,
what did you talk about?
True.
I was talking about Node.js actually, and how I was talking about how when I used to work long time ago, I worked at Toyota, and I kind of like introduced essentially cloud programming there via Heroku, and to do that we used Node.js, and I convinced all of the sort of people at the website to move away from the .NET infrastructure to the Node infrastructure, and there was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth at the beginning, but in the end, everyone liked it.
So you left after everything kind of caught fire, and
exactly.
Well, no, everything worked a lot better, because they were
after you left,
deliver a lot more quickly. Oh wow! Okay, no, bad boy.
Sounds right.
Yeah, and so I was talking about how you can deploy Node.js applications into Heroku with a git push, and it still feels like that's kind of like what I mean. To your point about like the simplicity and the sort of lack of formality and the lack of process, this is like was super great in my opinion about Heroku and about JavaScript and of course Clojure and ClojureScript in general, is that you should just be able to run these interpreted languages, do a git push, and bam, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a big fan of that, and I used Heroku back in the day, and there's another one, Netlify. I think a lot of the JavaScript programmers use now.
Yeah,
and there's a few of them.
Heroku's went horrible recently with the Salesforce stuff, and
right.
There's also. What isn't it called? Application.garden or something that Jack Rusher and some folks are working on, which is I think supposed to be kind of a Heroku experience for Clojure. If I got that right.
I think there's something else though. I think that's more to do with Clojure than ClojureScript, and
It's
very,
the same
very
idea
small little
for Clojure, easy deployment.
But I think Netlify and stuff like that, the sort of replay, because everyone kind of essentially saw the writing on the wall when Heroku started. Heroku changed their pricing model, and it used to be that you could have like hobbyist plans and stuff like that. And I think they all kind of went away. So then I think a lot more other ISPs like Netlify came along and said, okay, we can give you like essentially free free small application spaces. I don't know if you say you run your own box, Chris.
Yeah. So, I mean, and by the way, just while I remember it, Jack Rusher. Excuse me. I presume that can be edited out. Jack Rusher said something.
No.
Leave it in, Welter. Leave it in.
Yeah, just while we're on the topic, before I forget, Jack Rusher said something really interesting at Heart of Clojure, which was simple's great, but we should try and do easy as well as simple, which I thought was really interesting. And so, I mean, when I'm deploying, I'm using this little open source thing called Piku, which is kind of like, it's basically modeled after Heroku. And it's just a very small Python script, like a couple thousand lines of code. You put it up on your server, and it sits between, it sits in front of Git, basically. So in SSH, you hook it in, and then you can just do Git push to your own server, and it deploys there. So that's what I'm using to deploy all my fleet of pellets of 40 apps or whatever it is this Piku. And Piku's great. It's like, like all the kids now are using Docker or whatever, but Piku is just like bare metal Linux type of deployment system. So it's very minimal. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I'm quite biased because I'm also a co-maintainer, but shouts out to Rui Kamo who created Piku.
Well, we'll have to get a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, it's basically just piku.github.io. But if you want to use this newfangled link technology, you go for it.
The semantic web, gotta have that.
Yeah, I was watching something recently. There's a guy who I'm hoping we can persuade to come on in the coming months, who does YouTube videos about Clojure and stuff like this. And I'm blanking on his name for the moment. But anyway, we've got him in the list, Josh.
We'll edit it in. Yeah,
I think it's Andre someone. Anyway, he's really good, and he did this sort of little dive into deploying Clojure on using Coolify. I don't know if you've heard of Coolify.
Yeah, it's another one.
Coolify is a bit like that. It's a bit like some program that you run on the box, and essentially it does all of the monitoring and maintenance and deployment stuff for you, and it gives you a dashboard and all these kind of things. So I guess that Piku and Coolify are in the same space.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the same with there's a whole host of them actually, and there's Doku, which is like the same idea but with Docker containers. But it's great. Lots of options these days for people who want to self-host. So people who are completely insane, we've got lots of choice now. Yeah,
but I'm doing some self-hosting on another project, and I think it's really nice to have these options.
Yeah. I hope this is a literal server in your closet, though, because it doesn't count as self-hosting if you're using some VM in the cloud. That's
you've outed
no bueno.
Me.
Yeah.
We could go down a real rabbit hole here, but if only IPv6 was like a thing, then you could actually, people could host websites from their phone. You know what I mean? That's the way the internet should have worked. The internet should be this like distributed system where any computer can connect to any other computer, and we don't have to have these like servers in between. It would be revolutionary, but unfortunately, that's not the way it panned out. For now, at least.
Yeah, it seems like every attempt to do that, like Skype was a great attempt to do that, and it eventually got sort of balked out by Microsoft, and then they put a server in the middle, which is a shocker.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost as if there are mysterious forces wanting to centralize things into, 5 giant websites that each have copies of the other 4 or screenshots of the other 4, whatever the line is.
Yeah. No, there is always centralizing pressure. I mean, I think some of it is technical as well, because often it's much easier to build a centralized thing than a decentralized thing. And
absolutely.
And I don't actually think nerds tend to love the idea of decentralization, but I don't think most people, they don't want decentralization. What they want is actually privacy, convenience, things like that. And I think I actually think decentralization will feature strongly in the future of the internet, but I think it's something that'll be arrived at because of the other things that people want. Like when bad things happen, people tend to look for alternatives. Like, if you've seen that with X, and like a lot of people being against the new owner of X, and so there's a big exodus towards. In fact, maybe I should rename it to Exodus. But
yeah, I was going to say Exodus. Nice one. Worthy of Ray there.
Yeah, so a bunch of people end up on Mastodon. So those kind of things. Yeah.
While we're on decentralization and the future of the net, I just have to like plug a book here, or a concept from a book called the Dandelion Net. So this is, dandelions reproduce by just like throwing millions of little spores into the wind, and they go wherever. And so this dandelion net is kind of a decentralized, future internet. So the book is called A Half-Built Garden, which is just amazing. So we'll add that to the show notes as Josh's sci-fi recommendation.
Oh, right. It's a fiction.
Is it a part of the show now, is it? The Josh's sci-fi recommendations?
Yeah, now we got to do that in every episode.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Josh's sci-fi
I've got a couple of
recommendation.
Yeah. Throw them in there, Chris, yeah.
Throw them. Do it.
But on the decentralization thing, maybe we don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole, but like there is because there's always these new projects. Like, I tend to watch this space a bit, and there's a really interesting one at the moment called Nostr, Nostr, which comes from the root Latin word for our, so our as in belongs to us. Yeah. And it's pretty fascinating because it basically, it hasn't tried to go to the full decentralization where you've got like my computer talking to your computer, but they've got this idea of relays, right? And these relays are servers. So you're still using someone else's server, but they're kind of very, they're dumb servers. Like all they do is like collect data and redisseminate it. So there's no logic on the server. And practically speaking, what it means is like, it's effectively a very decentralized network that no one can really shut down, because if a relay blocks you or gets shut down or something, you connect to several relays and you distribute your posts across multiple. So I've been watching that technology as well. I mean, the space is populated.
How does that vary from BitTorrent?
So BitTorrent is for distributing files, so like file sharing. So me and you both have. So Josh wants to download a file, and he could download some pieces from me and some pieces from you. So that's like a direct connection from Josh's computer to my computer and to your computer. And that works with something called NAT hole punching, which is like where it actually bridges through it bridges through Josh's router and opens up a port, and ours can connect back, and we've all got open ports. So it does some tricky stuff there, but basically it's still, so that's like proper decentralization computer to computer. Whereas Nostr is more like you've still got servers running in the cloud called relays, but my web, and it's web technology. So my web browser connects to one of these relays using WebSockets, and I can send my posts there, and they're cryptographically signed on the client. So there's no, like, the server doesn't do any authentication or anything like that. It literally just takes these like signed posts and keeps them for me. And when someone else says, hey, I want Chris's post, or actually like public key XYZ's posts, it then sends them back to that person. So you
it's
kind
a
of got
proxy essentially for this like peer-to-peer network. Yeah,
exactly. Cool. Yeah, it's a proxy between different clients talking WebSockets and doing cryptography.
Right. So you basically have to subscribe as well, which sounds good, because otherwise when I hear relay, I'm like, oh shit, spam. But it sounds like this is, you can't get the spam unless you ask for it type thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's still spam. So, and I think that's one of the problems the network's going to face, because like, I mean, if you think about, Twitter, I write a post and then people can write any person off the internet. I'm trying to think of a better word than person. But anyway, any entity off the internet can come and write a reply and fill it with whatever they like. And so this network suffers the same problem. But
they're known as pellet posters.
Pellet posters. Yeah, I mean, basically, you need a pellet shield, and their solution is in Twitter or X or whatever, or on Mastodon, you've got someone who owns the server, so they set up a pellet shield on the server side. The pellet shield in Nostr would be deployed like on the client side. So you'd run like a similar to email, where your machine can classify things as spam. And I mean,
a pellet filter.
Pellet filter. Yeah.
Oh Lord, yeah. But this sounds interesting, and we'll drop it in the show notes. But perhaps we should veer back into, as much as I don't want to, veer back toward the Node.js. And but Ray, you put your finger up. Oh my God, what are you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, because actually Chris does have a blog, and I, for my sins, before the amount of closure, I read it, and
so, wow.
I remember reading a lot about.
It's good to know that I have one reader.
Well, ex-reader, but
you made the mistake once.
Yeah, I've got my pellet shield up now. But it was interesting because and I can't remember all the details for obvious reasons. I've tried to blank them out. But, I do wake up sweating. Yeah. I do wake up sweating sometimes, remembering some of the posts. But, anyways,
we're not doing great at finishing a sentence on this episode. Exactly.
Okay.
Let's just talk about Node.js, and then you'll remember this blog post.
I was just going to say that I used to work for a blockchain company, so I kind of was in that space as well. And you were doing some things to do talking about blockchain and decentralization, and I just, I've got to say that from my perspective, at least, I feel like we're in a bit of one of these horror shows right now, where I thought crypto was kind of discovered to be a total scam fest. I liked some of the technology, and we can dive into that if you want to. But certain aspects of the cryptographic, some of the crypto stuff that came out of it was really good. But the general kind of concept of crypto tokens and coins obviously was just a scam. And it was blew apart with the whole kind of with the FTX stuff and with the whole kind of stable currency.
It blew apart several times, because you had the FTX, you had NFTs, you had ICOs, all of those things.
I think NFTs and ICOs were just scam fests, but they didn't really collapse the ecosystem. Whereas the sort of the stable coin stuff. Now, what was it called? Terra. The Terra collapse, that was really bad. That was and that was essentially what sort of precipitated the FTX problem. And without getting into the whole history, but there were certain seismic things which essentially on the one hand revealed it to be full of scams, and then on the other hand revealed the sort of concepts and the tech to be absolute bullshit. From a fundamental, especially decentralized finance, this whole DeFi thing. So that all that kind of went away, and then and the Bitcoin collapsed and Ethereum dipped and everything like that, and then suddenly the US Treasury decided to allow these EFTs, and now we've got all the crypto bros kind of funding the election, and it's holy shit, what's going on here? It's like a horror movie where the crypt opened again and all these fuckers came back out.
The crypto crypt.
The crypto crypt. Yeah.
You're absolutely right, and I mentioned Nostr because what really attracted me to it was there's no Web3 in it at all, right? There's cryptography, right. And I really don't like. I don't like the phrase cryptocurrency, because when people just use the abbreviation crypto, it's crypto is this really important, really special mathematical construct that has helped the world so much, and it's a defensive technology. You know what I mean? It's a technology for preventing bad actors from harming you. And then it's kind of now when you say crypto, people immediately think of this horrible scam-ridden scene. But so Nostr doesn't use any coins or anything like that. The network is primarily populated by Bitcoin people at the moment. It seems to be so I don't know, maybe you want to give it a few years, but it seems to be growing usage among other people, which is great. I mean, it seems to be being more widely adopted. But the great thing about having Bitcoin people in there, the one thing you can say about Bitcoin people is they are absolute zealots about the decentralized thing, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason I'm interested in Nostr is because it's this open protocol. Anyone can run a relay. Anyone can write a client. And it's got this really nice way of just kind of dodging around the fact that the internet is not very decentralized with broadcasting to multiple relays. And it's got this culture underneath it of these hardcore freedom-loving zealots. So I'm pretty sure that the relays will stay up through a nuclear war or something like that, because these people, there's no way they're going to shut down their Nostr relay, right? They're going to keep it running. And so for me, that's like I tend to try and look at these things like, like I said, I don't like to get involved in the politics. So whatever they say, they're saying some rubbish. Some of the people on there are saying some rubbish. That's cool. It's okay. I don't mind if people say rubbish. I'm fine with that. But I really like the technology itself. That's why I feel so at home here. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So just fundamentally, I agree with you, Ray. There's like a lot of scams, and I think the technology itself in this case is really interesting, and it's definitely not Web 3.0, and it's using cryptography, not crypto coins, and not blockchains. Interestingly, I mean, Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So I think fundamentally, I think what we're kind of central in agreement around anyway is that cryptography is cool, decentralization is cool, and that's good, and I think we're all for it, And then the question is, like a lot of the questions are, it turns out, like, how do you sustain it? How do you fund it? How do you do all those things? And those are bigger questions that we still need to work out, I think. But in the current situation, I feel like decentralization will get a new boost, I think.
I hope so, yeah. I mean, yeah. I can't remember what I was going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say mean things about Node.js. So, please give me the opportunity to do so by talking about NBB.
Or I mean, we could talk about something if we want a disagreement, which is LLMs.
We'll come into them.
We've covered crypto. All right, we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, because you mentioned like there's kind of a natural progression from your addiction to Node.js to your addiction to LLMs. So two very harmful drugs. So just walk us through that. What happened? How did your life spiral out of control?
Well, I mean, but did you want to talk more about Node.js? Did you have questions?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just like, I want to dive a little bit deeper into NBB and what you're doing with it and why you find it so compelling. Because, I mean, for all the joking, you and I see eye to eye on kind of the reason we're using NBB and BB and Skittle and all of this. It's just like we disagree on the technologies because I'm afraid of Node.js and you embrace it.
And I'm afraid of Java.
Okay. Well, I don't use Java either. It's like, only Babashka, only Skittle.
Yeah. Oh, that was amazing. That slide that was shown from the last closure conj of the BB usage. I think it was Alex. Yeah,
Alex Miller's state of closure survey report or something.
So by the way, hot news. I happened to speak to Alex Miller last night. This is not a joke.
On apropos, or
this just in?
Yeah, this just in. Apparently, only half of the only 60% of the respondents actually answered that question. So, although he said 95%, it was more like half. It turns out,
right.
But this is
what
on.
Was the actual question?
The question was like, what? Okay.
What
different show, but the question was, what was the last time that closure surprised and delighted you? Which maybe we can, we can also ask here. But anyway, so and he was like, I did some local election stuff, used closure for it, blah blah blah. And I think and Eric Norman said, okay, well, what about Babashka? That must have delighted you, And it's like, oh yeah, actually, it was quite good, yeah. But and then blah blah blah. Yeah, so
Cool.
Yeah, that was. But I'll link to the apropos episode if you like.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I remember seeing that come up. I need to check it out.
Yeah, cool.
But we were talking
anyway,
about
Babashka is very popular, that's for sure. Yeah.
And being on the same page, Josh, with all this tech. So like MBB, BB, Skittle,
almost the same page.
Yes. Almost the same page, yeah. Yes. And so why do I use it? I mean, fundamentally, like my whole programming experience has been driven by like hardcore laziness. So I'll be I'll have a task to do. Like to give you an example, so I just spent maybe 5 days. I had while I was in the UK, I didn't file a single expense, right? And so I had a mailbox called expenses, filled with expenses. And I spent 5 days building a LLM-driven AI, what do you call them now, agent. I built an agent that can read my expenses, read the PDFs, and then classify them for me as like what that expense is for. So then I can file it like in 2 seconds rather than, because what I didn't want to do was go into every mail, open every PDF, find all the details myself, which probably would have taken 30 seconds per email. Right. Whereas now it takes 3 seconds. And that's basically laziness. Like I could have spent an afternoon doing that, but I spent 5 days building, and that just to give you that, I mean, that's like a very typical thing for me, and also why my wife is threatening to divorce me.
Yeah. Is that like breaking news or what?
This just in.
No,
Ray met Alex Miller and Chris is getting divorced. All right. Well,
she's a wonderfully patient person. Good, and when she listens to podcasts, she will laugh out loud when she hears me say that. But anyway.
Oh, is she going to listen to this?
We might be able to hear her in the background. No, of course she won't. Of course she won't.
Yeah. I don't expect anybody to listen to this episode, to be honest. I mean,
Wow. Okay.
I mean, if they see Josh and Chris McCormick in the same sentence, it's going to be like, oh, hell.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
This shit again. It's bad enough having Ray there, but now we've got these two clowns as well.
This has got to be a subtitle, the Pellet Fest, this one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Definitely episode.
Back to the Node
pelleting.
Yeah. And so the reason I use these tools is because I find that NBB, like BB, the tools that Michiel Borken builds, there's less ceremony. They're very fast to get up and running. They're just the developer experience, I guess you call it, is great. And we're talking before about deployment. I'm always trying to eliminate future work for myself. And one of the things is like deployment is often a pain. And so that's why I use that PQ thing I was talking about. But it's also why I like to have everything just in the package.json file. I don't want to have like some external dependency that I've got to put, which is also actually why I don't use BB too much, because I haven't yet figured out a deployment strategy where I can like pull that into my build system. So I'm like strictly MBB, strictly Node, probably way too much. I mean, BB will be one of those things where when I start using it, I'll be like, oh my God, you idiot.
Yeah.
For the last 2 years, I obviously should have been using this. But anyway.
Yes.
What I found was when I was using NBB, there were certain, I mean, and again, you haven't hit this wall yet, I guess, but I was using NBB for Lambdas. So there's an obvious reason for that is that, it's like you've got first class support, it's fast to start. And you can just drop things in and off you go. But as you start adding certain packages, or you want to use certain things from the SCI kind of ecosystem, I didn't remember that there are certain packages that in NBB even you need BB for, so you need to have BB to deploy certain packages, and I guess you haven't run into that yet, or is that something which you do offline or out of band, or?
No, I mean, this is going to make people cry, but like I basically just avoid the Clojure ecosystem largely, and it's for that reason, because I just want to stick with JavaScript, and so I'm like importing JavaScript libraries, and there's just enough of Clojure, like Michiel is bundled in Reagent, and he's bundled in Applied Science JS Interrupt, and he's bundled in Promesa library. So it's like got all the stuff. Yeah. I mean, like, and I don't think I actually knew about those libraries until Michiel was like, oh yeah, these are obviously the ones to use. And so I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And yeah, so I don't actually have to pull in any closure. I rarely do that.
Or any ClojureScript ones either, I guess.
No, I mean, I don't. I just use JavaScript stuff. And actually, you know what I mean? You know what? When I'm deploying ClojureScript live, I'm using Shadow CLJS to compile the backend and front end. So where I use MBB is like a fast script where like I just want to iterate over the database and update some fields, or list some stuff, or, you know, like these kind of, or build a static HTML page based on something from somewhere else. You know, it's these things where you want to invoke it very quickly, because Shadow CLJS, if you want to use JavaScript on the back end, it's got this compilation stage, and for every script, I'd have to create an entry in Shadow CLJS.edn. Whereas with MBB, I could just bang out a .cljs file and run it, and it's right there.
Yeah.
So that they occupy two different niches for me.
Okay, because I guess you're serving out of Sightfox, which is where you use the Clojure, the Shadow CLJS stuff. Yeah, so
Sightfox runs on MBB and Shadow CLJS, but yeah, I'm compiling the backend into a server.js binary that I then ship that up to the server. So that's what I deploy. Yeah.
And you do that locally, do you? You're kind of like,
I build.
There's no CI for you, you know. It's like,
no, I mean, I do use CI. I use it for client work and stuff. But for me, I like to keep it really lean, and I'm the only person building it. No one else wants to touch my code, so so they can F off.
Reproducible builds on my machine only.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like that's I think if you're just throwing pellets against the wall, you know, that is the way to do it, because you know what attracted me to that whole ecosystem was like I kind of rediscovered the joy of like visual programming, and by this I mean programming that does a thing on my screen that I can see, which is kind of like what I loved about getting into programming as a kid. Like I did a thing and then something moved on the screen and I was like, awesome. You know, like now my kind of grown up programming is mainly about like, I have read some JSON from somewhere, transformed it into something and put it in some database. And that's kind of boring. But so, you know, like doing stuff in a web browser, like these days, you know, the web browser can do so much stuff and has like native APIs for all this stuff. And so, you know, not only can I make stuff move on the screen, I can, you know, record video and play audio and all of this stuff. And like, so that's kind of the joy of Skittle, that I can do all of that stuff, and deployment, all it looks like is basically just blasting, you know, an HTML and CLJS file somewhere. And then I'm just up and running. So I'm totally behind this, you know, reproducible builds are for, you know, people who do serious stuff and not for me idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's a time and a place for everything, isn't there? And if you're building something for a company and, you know, on a team, the constraints and trade-offs are very different. I'm very fortunate that I don't have that situation because I have no friends. So I just push pellets by myself.
Just a pellet pusher. Actually, one of the things that I mean, again, this is like I don't know how far we're going to take this, but I've another project called Content Made Simple, where we're developing a content management system, and we're just doing videos right now of ourselves talking about the things that we're building. And what we're doing there is having a live REPL on the server, and the way that we deploy is basically by evaluating expressions on the server. So we don't push any code even. We just evaluate via a remote REPL.
Yeah, right. That sounds absolutely pellet worthy.
Yeah, well, I guess I was going to say, I mean, that's sort of like it's pure pellet, I've got to say. But the question is, like, I mean, to me, that's like that's an amazing workflow, that we can just like do that, and we've had this like REPL up, I don't know, for 2 months or something.
Wow. Yeah, it's like the original Lisp dream, isn't it?
Yeah. And that was the idea. Was to see how far we can like push the pellets on that one. And like I said, 2 months in, we're like 6 episodes into this thing, and like it's still going.
Yep.
But what was I going to say? That workflow doesn't seem to be viable in your ecosystem, or am I wrong about that?
Which workflow? Where you're actually editing on a live REPL?
You have a REPL running, and you can like just essentially evaluate things. The reason why I mention that is because we were talking to Eric Normand a few episodes ago, and that's what he was saying, and that kind of inspired this thought actually, was that he was saying on his own website, he essentially logs in, does a git pull, and then just does a reload all on the running application.
Yeah.
But I guess for you do some sort of restart when you do a redeploy. You do some sort of restart.
Yeah, on the Piku manages all that for you. So Piku like basically just flips the server.
Yeah.
As soon as you get push.
I think you like the Skittle story. You could do that, but it would require running on your own server where you can open a port so that the REPL can connect to the WebSocket. And I do all of my stuff on like S3 hosted websites with CloudFront. So obviously CloudFront is not going to let you connect to an arbitrary port, right? So so that limits the kind of production REPL experience. So.
Yeah, and to do it with the stack that I'm using, like if you've got a compiled JS binary, basically you would have to do a build with ClojureScript bundled in there, so that it could interpret it. It could interpret.
Right.
And you could do it with NBB though. NBB has an nREPL, and you could run that remotely, and that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah.
I've just got to do. Okay, Chris. Just
yep.
Since you're interested in experiments, that'll be good fun to do.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next topic.
Yeah. Yeah, you said something outrageous as we were doing the warm-up chit-chat. You said, like, LLMs are the greatest thing that's ever happened to ClojureScript. So, like, you've got to expand on that.
Lies. Oh, that's like when you told me at a Heart of Clojure that PHP was the peak language. Like, there's that famous Paul Graham essay with the the blob paradox, and you said that. Right. You said that you've got ClojureScript up there, Clojure up there, and then just one above it is PHP.
Yeah, that was definitely what he said. Yeah.
So no, I mean, I've been tinkering with LLMs, and to start with, I was doing the same thing everyone does with like loading up Claude or ChatGPT and typing in like, can you produce me some Clojure code, and just getting absolute pellets back. And since then, I kind of learned of this tool, Aider, AIDER, which is a Python-based open source tool, which it runs on the command line, and basically it calls out to. So the good thing about it is it can call out to multiple different LLMs, so you can like run it against Claude or OpenAI or whatever, and then it modifies files on disk, and it's console based, so you're not stuck in this chat window inside the web browser. And it also has this feature where you can supply context to it. So, like you could pull in, so you can create a Markdown file, and you could pull in you could pull in documentation basically. So you can tell it, I want my ClojureScript code written using Promesa, and here's how you use Promesa, and I want to use JS interop. So,
right. So it's effectively providing state to the LLM. It's like giving it the context. Okay.
Yeah, and it does it automatically. So, and you can do it on a per project basis. So, if you've got a directory called Pellet 1, you can have like some Skittle instructions in there, how to write Skittle code. And you got Pellet 2, you can have some Java, like interop instructions in there for that. And I mean, I have to say, I found that has improved the quality of the output from the LLM. And most people, I think most people are quite sane. They know that there's like a lot of rubbish being spoken by these LLMs and coded by these LLMs, and you have to check things, you have to run tests. But me, I'm a pellet pusher, so I just deploy it straight away, and then
just in production,
just see what happens. Yeah, and see my 2 or 3 users, they let me know pretty quickly.
Wow. Okay.
But so I mean, go on.
No, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, I mean, so I actually think there is a future in using LLMs to code. I think obviously you have to do it defensively, and you have to do it. What's the right word? Like consciously. You have to be with intent. You know what I mean? And be careful about it, because it can get quite easy to just be like the 5 days I spent creating that silly AI that analyzes my expenses. I really went around in a lot of circles, and I was like, it wasn't a good experience. I should have. Because what actually happened was about 3 days in, I actually took a look at the code, and it was like the LLM was just doing something really, really stupid, and like the architecture of what it was trying to do, like the way it was using promises, was just totally wrong. So like basically, I backed out, and I was like, I said, don't do it this way, do it this other way, and then it's produced a much better result. It's actually now functioning, and only 50% of my taxes are wrong. So it's quite a good outcome.
And you can blame it on Sam Altman,
Yeah, it was the AI.
Exactly.
It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Your Honor, it's not my fault, Your Honor.
The AI told me to do it. But this is the kind. Let's not get into all of that though. But
the British Post Office.
God,
that's what we shouldn't get into.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cracking jokes, but that's heavy.
Yeah. So
I mean, who would trust a computer? Like, honestly.
Well, unfortunately, everybody. Yeah.
It's the worst. I mean, people like us are writing the software. Why would anyone trust what's going on with a computer?
Well, and
exactly.
now people like us are not even writing it, right? I mean, now it's just like people like us are telling computers how to write code to execute. This is...
You have piles of code pellets on the internet. Let's be honest about what happened. You have these massive piles of code pellets written by people who have no idea what they're doing. There's no like guild which you have to join to become a programmer where they go, do you know what the F you're doing? No, you could just put pellets on the internet. So there's all these pellets, then they train up a statistical model that absorbs all of the pellets and then like statistically generates more pellets. I mean, what did they think was going to happen?
I couldn't have put it better myself. It's pellets all the way down. But I see we're rapidly approaching the cliff off which my bus will drive. So we should.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Thelma and Louise moment for Josh.
Indeed.
And on that bombshell.
Yeah. And sadly, we're geographically distributed, so I will be driving off this cliff by myself and not taking either one of you lovely people with me. But
this is a hell of a show, you know. I mean, I'm going to be abandoned here. You're going off a cliff. He's getting a divorce. I mean, this is like the most dramatic show we've ever had. You know,
it is. Yeah.
We really should be. We've got to do some marketing for this one. The first deaf and snuff video, the first deaf and snuff podcast.
So anyway, Chris, do you have any closing thoughts that you want to leave our zero listeners with?
I mean, I would just call back to something we were talking about during Heart of Closure, which was, people worried. There's a lot of like angst and anxiety around, not enough people are using Closure or whatever. But it's like there's 8% that shows up on the charts, and like there's enough passionate people involved where it doesn't actually matter. You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm really optimistic about Closure and the future of Closure and ClojureScript. And that's basically what I want to say is like to everybody in the community, like producing stuff, like thank you so much, and I hope it keeps on going. It's just awesome. It's like I'm very grateful to be a recipient, and hopefully sometimes a contributor to this community.
Lovely.
Yeah, well, we welcome it because you are very active, Chris, and we see you doing things, and that's all good,
Yeah. Some of the things, of course, are offensive to me personally, but that's for another episode, perhaps.
You have to separate the art from the artist,
Indeed.
Or the pellets from the pelleter.
The pellet from the pusher.
The pellet from the pusher.
Oh God! All right.
Did you say you're in the peloton? It's like...
Yeah, so we're done here. I mean,
Yeah.
Quick! Somebody stop this!
I'm pressing the stop button. But
it's gone too far.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and hopefully next time you're on, it will be at the next Heart of Clojure on a big sofa with a bunch of other closurists.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And I guess you can't go lower than 0 listeners. So please, anytime you'd like to have me back, it'd be great.
Well, we get a lot of hate listening, so
just angry mumbling. Oh, that's the camp I'm in. I'm glad to know I'm not the only one. What are these clowns talking about?
Well, thanks.
Oh God. It's been so
thanks
fun.
to everyone at home. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Ray. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Defan. And the awesome vegetarian music or the track is Melon Hamburger by Pizzeri. And the show's audio is mixed by Wouter Dullert. I'm pretty sure I butchered his name. Maybe you should insert your own name here, Dullert.
Wouter.
If you'd like to support us, please do check out our Patreon page. And you can show your appreciation to all the hard work or the lack of hard work that we're doing. And you can also catch up with either Ray, with me for some unexplainable reason. You want to interact with us, then do check us out on Slack, Clojurian Slack or Clojureverse, or on Zulip, or just at us at Defan Podcast on Twitter. Enjoy your day and see you in the next episode.